We have our next speaker really is a man who doesn't need much of an introduction. Magical wizard, really a great dresser, always has like amazing hats, an activist with a heart of gold, and the CEO of Bronner Soap. I'm very excited to welcome David Bronner to the podium so he can sprinkle and spread some of his magic and joy and vision into our hearts as we move into our closing panel for the day. So without further ado, let us please welcome David Bronner.
Yeah, take it.
The coolest hats.
Yeah, right up.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Anifa. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, all the indigenous elders and cultures that have held these medicines in such high vibration and show us how to heal in community and pray in community. And grateful to the Indigenous Medicine Conservation Fund and Chacruna's Indigenous Reciprocity Initiative as great vehicles for us to show that appreciation. I'm really honored to follow this heavyweight panel, making a lot of the points I want to make here. But maybe I'll start first with, just the importance of the regulated access program. We're talking about, real frame here is accessibility, both economic and cultural, or as in comfort. And I think, the Oregon's regulated access program really building on what's coming out of Johns Hopkins and this kind of therapeutic, Western psychedelic tradition, itself inspired by indigenous traditions, is really about optimizing set and setting and creating that safe container for people to, feel safe and release and do the deep work they need to do. Standardizing the medicines and, accountability for facilitators and, mechanisms of holding them accountable. It's really crucial, and especially when we think about like my mom or parents' generation or anybody who's psychedelically naive, they need to see this kind of regulated access point to feel comfortable availing themselves of these medicines and this healing. Main part of this talk is going to be about the importance of self-regulating communities, but I just want to acknowledge that these self-regulating communities are, by and large, like intimidating for your average, let's say, mainstream American. And so it's, we want to create a world where that feels much more comfortable, but, until we're there, it's just really, really crucial to have these regulated access programs and as that access point for the majority of the population. And then, and just within regulated access, obviously with all these regulations, there comes real cost. And, there's different strategies here to make it more affordable. A group healing model, really happy to see that really starting to take hold. Intertrek's got, I think they're now under $1,000 for group therapy model. That's all in with the preparation session, facilitated session, and integration. And Psychedelic Health Equity Initiative, doing really great work, some really great pilots, and with the goal of eventually getting Medicaid and private insurers to cover the cost of therapy within state regulated access programs as well as at the federal FDA level. And this is awesome and crucial. I'm really excited by Heroic Hearts Project and Jesse's work and working with Bendable on this really amazing, more extensive group healing project for veterans. I think at about a cost of $5,000 a veteran for multiple. I think it's like a 3-week preparation, and it's maybe a 6-month program overall. It's pretty extensive, but also with a goal of creating veteran communities. And I think that's a good pivot to the thrust here that, the idea that we're going to heal ourselves forever and ever of things like depression or just the struggles of life with one or two facilitated sessions is incorrect. This is about a lifelong relationship, and being able to avail ourselves in a regular rhythm of medicine and in an economical way is crucial. And saying like, okay, the only way you can do that is through paying regulated access rates that's ridiculous. We can't, it's important to be able to do that work for a number of reasons, but once someone's comfortable and in the, experienced, then, for example, these veteran groups, these cohorts that are moving through Bendable's program, they could then form self-regulating communities, and be able to grow their own medicine together and be able to drink together and heal together, and do that much more affordably. Just quickly on the regulated access side, though, I want to shout out Alma and the sliding scale structure they've got. Also, Cherie Eckert Foundation, raising funds for training or sponsoring scholarships for BIPOC and LGBTQ and other under-resourced populations to be able to get the training and be able to be a comfortable access point for different communities. Yeah. And then eventually also for clients as well. But yeah, so with the importance of self-regulating communities is, no matter how equitable and affordable we make regulated access, it's still just by its nature going to be more costly than a self-regulating community that can grow your own medicine and facilitate powerful experiences. I think somewhat of the tension or trade-off we were hearing here in the last panel is like, okay, with regulated access, you can really focus on safety, and you kind of err on the side of safety, but then you get cost. And then self-regulating communities becomes the most affordable, but then safety, there's that question. So it was really good to hear like all the different ways self-regulating communities are creating that safe container. At Burning Man, I'm part of a camp that hosts Zendo. So the Burning Man community, in some way, it's a big kind of wild ceremony. And Zendo provides safe spaces for people who are, overdo it or just having more difficult experience and can go ground out and do deep work. It was great to hear Annie's examples. And then also Chacruna incubated the Sacred Plant Alliance, which is now its own standalone organization. Sacred Plant Alliance is a consortium of entheogenic churches. Bob Otis of Sacred Garden Community, and the Sacred Garden Community is one of the member churches. There's Church of the Eagle and Condor, Church of Monet, like really high-level churches that have really high-level facilitator trainings and safety protocols, screening protocols, figuring out how to optimize your legal posture. So Sacred Plant Alliance is now like open for business, so to say, and is now soliciting nascent, up-and-coming churches to become members. And you can't just become a member; you got to go through a process and make sure you're checking the boxes. And but yeah, so this is a really important organization we're supporting that we feel like can really promote good, safe containers. We've got Santo Daime and UDV are the only federally recognized churches, but there's so many. It's incredible to see the flowering of all these churches coming up. And as far as I know, the harassment, the only real interference they're dealing with is their medicines getting seized. There's no arrests happening at this point, so it's great the cultural trajectory is at this point, it's still obnoxious that medicines are being seized and that needs to stop. But yeah, it's awesome. So, so I think it's also important though to create policy. While the Federal Religious Restoration Freedom Act does arguably create legal cover for entheogenic churches in all 50 states, it very much depends There's work being done with the DEA and at the federal level to make a more reasonable and streamlined process for approval of a church. Right now it's like pretty ridiculous and arbitrary, and DEA really shouldn't be the gatekeepers. But we also want to make sure that in state policy, when we're enacting our different measures and policies, that we create the protection at the state level or at the city level. And decriminalized nature as a movement has its ethos. Bob Otis was the original board chair of Decrim Nature Oakland when they passed their resolution. Kevin Matthews and Duffy and team in Denver doing this really great work. But decriminalizing the medicines and allowing for home grow and community use and legal protection so that you can actually be public, not be worried about police interference, and just that psychological, weight of that risk is just like, that's part of the problem here that we want to eliminate. So in Oregon, we've got Measure 109 and 110. And 110's done a good job in decriminalizing, all the plant, along with everything else. It's a little arbitrary. You can have like a lot of LSD. You can have like not that much mushrooms. But it doesn't allow for home grow. It doesn't allow for self-regulating community use. And then like a medicine like ayahuasca, that's never ever going to be part of a regulated access program. It's just coming into the culture in a totally different way. And how do we make room for that, recognize that in policy? So decriminalizing medicines and then associated with a lot of education about what is safe use, good trip sitting 101. But yeah, we made a promise back in the day. We were big backers of 109 and 110, that as I got kind of educated and realized like, okay, there is a policy gap here. We don't have home grow and self-regulating community use. That's not part of the policy picture yet in Oregon. And, we've been, I've helped form the Plant Medicine Healing Alliance along with Nathan and other leaders here in Portland and Oregon to lobby the Portland City Council to enact the kind of policy that would allow home grow and self-regulating community use. Unfortunately, it's been a difficult process. And we're basically ready to back a Portland measure that will decriminalize the medicines and allow for the home grow and self-regulating community use. But I didn't want to just it takes resources to do that, and I wanted to do, this very much needs to be a local community effort, and ask Keith and Gabe and other community leaders here, along with Plant Medicine Healing Alliance, it's like, okay, well now we've got 109, we've got 110, what is the real risk here nowadays? Is there, even though you don't have the formal protection for home grow and self-regulating community use, is it still a priority? And the answer is very much a yes. So we are, but we're going to take it a little slow, just to blow back in 110. It's not ideal, and give a longer runway to collect signatures through a big community volunteer effort. So basically in July, right after signatures are due for this election cycle, you can begin collecting for 26. So in July and over the summer, the signature gathering process will begin for a 2026 Portland ballot measure. And we're actually meeting here. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go to the speakers dinner. We've got a Plant Medicine Healing Alliance shindig here from 6 to 9. Just kind of going to hang out with community leaders here. And just really want to support and lay the groundwork support the organizations here that are educating on best practices and, creating the safety and the education that we need for the freedom that decriminalization brings. But, you need that much more responsibility and knowledge. All right, so I think I'm going to wrap it up, and thank you guys so much. Yeah.